Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping straight into something pretty stark today. The material we've been looking at calls it the automation cliff.
Yeah, it's a phrase that really hits you. It's not just, jobs evolving. The sources talk about a potential vertical drop in relevance for billions.
Billions. And they
Yeah.
frame it even more fundamentally, saying we're not just entering a new economy, we might actually be exiting an old species of cognition.
Which is why our goal today is to go deeper than just, say, asking about AI prompts.
Right. Forget what prompt should I use for a minute.
Exactly. We need to look underneath. How do meaning and cognition and signal actually work below the surface of language?
So you can learn not just to use AI, but maybe to actually orchestrate it.
That's the idea, because this time feels, fundamentally different. The speed is just unprecedented.
It really is. I mean, the research suggests we're maybe 40, even 50 years ahead of where projections put us for, what, 2070?
It's staggering. Think about AI agents doing tasks in seconds. Tasks that used to take senior software engineers days or weeks.
Or language models creating entire business plans, complex legal documents, faster than a whole team of experts could.
And that speed, while amazing, it really throws a spotlight on a potential problem, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, are people really grasping the depth of this change, or are they still just, fiddling with the surface, like crafting the perfect prompts?
Right, like focusing on the tool without understanding the engine driving it.
Precisely. The real advantage, the sources argue, is in understanding how meaning and cognition actually function. That's where the leverage is.
Okay, so thinking about that leverage,
Hmm.
what does this mean for you listening right now? That old idea of the prompt engineer.
It's already feeling a bit dated, isn't it? The sources point towards a much more crucial role, the AI orchestrator.
And that's not just someone telling the AI what to do moment by moment.
No, it's more like an architect, someone designing the whole system so intelligence can act purposefully.
You mean like building the semantic framework, the operational logic?
Exactly, the symbolic systems. Think of it like creating the grammar and the core logic for AI, not just, writing isolated sentences for it.
That sounds complex, more than just a technical skill.
Oh, definitely. The sources call these cognitive architectures, and they depend entirely on a deep grasp of how meaning works. They actually lay out 9 specific high-value capabilities for AI orchestration.
Like what? Can you give an example?
Sure. Things like strategic prompt architecture, designing whole conversations and logical flows, not just single prompts, or agent-based development, building autonomous AI agents that can tackle big problems on their own.
So you're designing the intelligence itself, in a way.
That's the core idea, designing the thinking process, not just the output.
Okay, that's a massive leap from just using a tool. But let's connect this back. There's a kind of paradox here, right? These super powerful AIs are built on language.
Fundamentally, yes.
Yet, the sources argue that the actual science of language is maybe the weakest link in this whole revolution. How does that work?
Well, it's because largely we've built this incredible intelligence on linguistic models that, they lack a truly solid empirical grounding, according to this research.
So they're good at spotting patterns, statistical links.
Extremely good. That's why AI sounds so fluent. But it's often skin deep. It can mask a lack of real conceptual grasp or understanding intent.
Like it can write like Hemingway without understanding courage or loss?
Sort of, yeah. It's brilliant mimicry, syntactically speaking, but it might not be true conceptual thought.
And this is where the sources bring in Dr. Mahmudjon Kuchkarov's theory, Odam Tili, as a potential missing link.
Exactly. It's presented as possibly the first empirically structured theory of language that's rooted in sensory experience, how language actually emerged.
How does that differ from, say, traditional linguistics, with its focus on abstract grammar?
Well, traditional approaches often start with abstract rules, arbitrary symbols. Odam Tili flips that. It suggests language isn't arbitrary at all.
Yeah.
It argues language grew directly out of our physical interaction with the world, our senses, our emotions, our environment. Like the sound "es" might echo the sound of a snake, or sh mimics rustling sounds.
So words aren't just random labels.
According to this theory, no. They're like compressed cognitive experiences rooted in how we sense the world. It makes language less of just a social tool.
And more like,
The primary way consciousness itself gets encoded.
wow. Okay, that is a profound idea. Because if language is tied so tightly to sensory reality, and we're training AI on language that might be As you said, distorted or taken out of context.
Then you risk amplifying that distortion, right? Creating intelligence that's fluent but fundamentally confused or ungrounded.
So how does Odam Tili help fix that, potentially?
By integrating its principles, the hope is to give AI a deeper semantic foundation, rooting its understanding of language in something closer to the way humans do through sensory, embodied experience.
Which could maybe help with things like AI alignment, or those weird hallucinations we see.
That's the potential benefit, yes. Moving AI beyond just statistics towards something more like genuine conceptual understanding.
Right, let's bring this all together then as we wrap up. Because the stakes here, well, they sound incredibly high. This isn't just about your job or new software. The sources call it a systemic filtration of humanity, even a filter for civilization.
It's heavy stuff, and the timeline presented is, well, it's urgent. Very urgent.
How urgent are we talking?
The projections are quite specific. By 2025, that's next year, autonomous AI agents could be mainstream, handling complex tasks end-to-end.
Okay.
Then by 2026, potentially, physical robots combined with general AI entering the workforce. Think service jobs, manual labor.
Well, the big one.
2027. That's the projected threshold for crossing into artificial superintelligence, ASI.
AI that outthinks humans across basically everything.
Yes, and the argument is, without a truly grounded understanding of language and meaning, like Odam Tili aims for the risk of catastrophic misalignment at that stage becomes terrifyingly real.
So this automation cliff, it's not just technical, it's, what was the word? Epistemological.
Exactly. It challenges our very ways of knowing. How we understand truth, how we validate information in a world saturated with AI-generated content.
Which leads directly to the choice the sources lay out for everyone listening.
Yeah, it's put very starkly. You either understand how meaning is born and become an AI orchestrator.
Or remain in the illusion of fluency and get orchestrated.
That's the choice.
It really drives home why this Odam Tili theory isn't positioned as just some interesting academic idea.
No, it's presented more like a critical tool set. A survival protocol, a potential wealth engine, even a cognitive compass for navigating what they call a time of semantic collapse.
Learning it is compared to learning the operating system of future consciousness.
It's a powerful metaphor, and it leaves us with a pretty deep question to chew on, doesn't it?
Well,
if language really is the primary encoding mechanism of consciousness, as Odam Tili suggests, and if our collective understanding, our use of language, has become distorted or ungrounded, what does that mean for our own thinking, our own cognition?
Right. How does that affect how we connect with reality? With each other, especially as the world gets filled with more and more artificial intelligence. So maybe the final thought for you is, what steps can you actually take to understand meaning more deeply, to get beyond just the surface interaction? Definitely something to think about.